get started in about 30 seconds. I do want you to see on the screen that we're going to be in Lumio today. So just like we did in the first opening session, if you could head over to class link, and actually I'll show you that here. And then if you just find this little firefly, the Lumio icon, it will ask you to put in our class code. And the class code is on my screen on the Meet screen. So you'll have to switch between tabs, but it's 553346. And it looks like we have about half of you in. So I'll just wait another minute for you guys to do that.
I wasn't going to hop in, just so you know, Sam. So
thanks.
that way I didn't mess with your numbers.
So -2, right?
-2.
Me and you. All right. So while people are getting into our Lumio presentation with the code there on the screen, I want to thank you for being here. This session is going to be about how technology can boost engagement when we're talking about teaching and learning about social emotional topics. I'm going to go ahead and get started in just a second. It looks like maybe we're waiting on 2 people. I appreciate you choosing this session. I know there are a lot of great ones to pick from today. We are going to be going through a lot of resources. In fact, I have selected 6 of our applications that we're going to find resources in. So there's not going to be a ton of time, I'll warn you now, to do your own exploring. So we will be moving pretty quickly. Hopefully at the end, there's a couple of minutes that you can explore on your own. But I hope that you are kind of just engaged in the process and maybe taking a few notes. I'm happy to share my resources with you as well at the end. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and thank you, Carrie, for putting that in the chat in case anyone missed the class code. And we're going to go ahead and get started. And the first thing I'd love for you to do, if you don't mind, please, is on your Lumio screen. So you can stay on that tab and just kind of listen to my voice. You don't really have to be on the Meet screen. If you don't mind taking this little survey, what is your audience? So when you're thinking about either the students or the adults that you work with, if you could go ahead and pick one of those on the Lumio screen.
Sam, it says the teacher is not running it.
Thanks for telling me that. Let me start this one over again. How about now?
No, not yet.
All right. Well, we'll just move right along past that. If you don't mind just typing it in the chat, I see on my screen that I can review results, but we don't actually have the poll. If you don't mind going ahead and typing in the chat what your primary audience is in terms of who do you work with? Elementary, middle, high, teachers, adults, or all of the subjects? Looks like we kind of have a mixed bag, a lot of elementary and some middle. Awesome. Okay, so kind of a mix. We'll show you resources for all of those grade levels. Back on our Lumio tab, I think that you should see now a How Are You Feeling Today poll. So let's hope this one works for you. And in a second, you should be able to pull your pointer to the picture that shows how you feel today. So if you can just grab that little red pointer and drag it over to one of those symbols on your screen. How are we feeling today? Of course, we had to start our session with a little SEL, right? Checking in on our emotions. And of course, I like that these are images because it's up for interpretation. The great thing about technology is that a lot of these are ready for you. It takes the pressure off of kids because we don't have names attached to these little tabs. It kind of gives you as a teacher a temperature check of the room and an opportunity to talk with kids about, oh, looks like a lot of people today are on sort of the partly cloudy. So that seems like it's pretty good. We got a lot of sunny people too with some rainbows. And maybe there's a couple of people who feel a little stormy. So a great way to launch and talk about that. So I wanted to make sure we started our session there. On the screen on Lumio, you'll see our digital learning standards for educators. There's also a link there that you can click on to open all of the standards in case you're not familiar. We're going to really be focused in this session on the empowered learner and creative communicator. And just so that we can kind of level set everybody, when we're talking about SEL, we're talking mostly about the process of teaching kids and adults how to manage their emotions, how to achieve their personal goals, how to show empathy for others, how to maintain relationships, and ultimately how to make those responsible and caring decisions. So you'll see a quote over here on the Lumio screen from Castle, which is sort of the industry leader when we're talking about SEL. It stands for the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. And Castle has identified these 5 domains or pillars that we're going to find activities that fall into these categories today. So when we're talking about SEL, we're really talking about these 5 areas. Starting with self awareness, that's about recognizing one's emotions and their values, but it's also thinking about their strengths and challenges. And then talking about self management, that's about managing your emotions and your behaviors in order to achieve goals. And I'm sure that's one that we're all working on with our students. Social awareness is kind of like the next step, which is showing understanding for others. So once they understand themselves, we're talking about empathy. Then we're talking about relationship skills. So once they are able to kind of identify that other people also have feelings and emotions, we're talking about how do you form positive relationships? How do you work with teams? How do you deal with conflict? And then finally, that leads us to responsible decision making. So making good choices. And so when we're talking about SEL, we're kind of talking about these 5 categories. So in a moment here, I'm going to start the monster quiz. And if you've never done monster quiz before, basically you're going to be in little teams and you're going to be answering 8 questions. And of course, I had to gamify for our theme today. And I thought that this was a great way, instead of me giving you facts, for you to kind of get some information about the importance of teaching SEL. So I'm going to start this in a moment. You'll just answer the questions on your screen. And then typically in the classroom, you can go to the meet to see this. The monster egg is going to hatch to create a monster. So if you have a chance during this game, we will go ahead and get started, but you can also click over to the meet and kind of see what's going on as you answer. So I'm going to start the quiz now, 8 questions, and hopefully you'll get something about how important SEL is in the classroom. Nice, you guys are flying. We have some body parts hatching out. Looks like most of you are about maybe halfway, a little bit more. Probably another minute to go. Each of those questions is timed.
I have to say, Sam, the Halloween background is awesome. I used this one last week, and
I
you
have to
can't not
agree.
use it.
It's amazing, especially with the monsters. It's the perfect fit.
Exactly.
If you get a chance when you're done, pop on over to the meet so you can see what's going on the main screen. Woo, we have a winner. Barrel Busters. Give you guys a minute to finish if you haven't already. Alicia, nice. Really nice job, guys. Even if you're not done every question, oh, we have a second place. Even if you're not completely finished every question, I think you're probably getting the gist of why SEL is so important. And our third place. Nice job, everybody. And congratulations to the Barrel Busters. You probably see I don't know what that is. I guess some sort of spider. So I would like, if you don't mind, to take a minute and think about what are some of your key takeaways or your key messages about SEL from what I just told you from Castle's definition and also from the quiz. So on your screen, you should have a whole class whiteboard. Are you guys able to use the tools on the left to contribute? If you don't mind, just throwing up like a couple of words or a sentence to tell me your key takeaways. Absolutely. Huge impact for students, benefits everybody for sure. If you haven't been in Lumio or haven't been in a while, you'll see that there's also some images that you can use. And students will also have these same tools if you use it with them. Mental health impacts learning 100%. Positive results with schools that use SEL. I thought it was amazing about how it linked it with graduation rates. Super important, especially now, and proven through research. You guys got it all. I think the key takeaways are, sadly, we are considered still to be in a mental health crisis for our youth, that social emotional learning is definitely needed and proven and also important, and that it's part of a high quality educational program. So we kind of all already understand that. I'm glad you guys got those takeaways as well. So what we know for sure is that SEL supports school priorities, and I also believe that technology addresses those same domains as well. So to me, putting these together is a natural fit. Now, of course, our office doesn't ever advocate for, being on tech all the time. We understand it's a balance because that would be the opposite of our SEL initiatives, right? So we want students building relationships. We want them talking to each other. But we do think that there are some really great resources that you can use, and that's hopefully what you're going to get out of today's session. So here I want to show you on the screen, you should have on your Lumio, there are sort of three main areas that tech connects with SEL. So in terms of building skills, there's a quote there, with expression and leader and ownership, and then also in strengthening relationships. So I'm just going to give you a moment. I've made this an individual handout in case you want to circle, underline, or take notes. If you wouldn't mind taking a minute to read one or two of these sections about how tech connects with SEL. So I hope what you've taken away is that using tech can actually really help our students, especially our neurodivergent learners, in terms of helping them to communicate and express. And our tech tools offer a lot of accessibility options, I think you'll see as we go through. That kind of takes the pressure off of having to verbalize those kind of tough conversations that come along with teaching SEL. It's also the way that our kids are learning, right? And that's the world that they're living in. So it's just kind of a natural fit. I hope you noticed down there that the keys to success in all the articles that I've read, and I'm happy to provide you with my sources at the end, is that you need to be purposeful with your integration of tech and SEL. So it should always have some sort of prep or debrief to go along with the activities you're choosing. So you're going to see a lot of great resources today, but the idea is not that you're just going to assign them for them to work on independently and never circle back. The idea is that you can integrate these either in your existing curriculums, or if you are kind of doing just an SEL lesson, that you, of course, kind of have that pre-discussion and that recap afterwards so that everyone is getting the most bang for their buck. The best quote that I read was actually from the American Academy of Pediatrics, and it said that the digital world can either hinder social emotional learning or it can be a lever. And it's just about taking what we know, using common sense to guide our decisions, and that educators should see themselves as media mentors for students. So by helping students learn how to how to value real life experiences and prioritize their use of media, can avoid letting their real worlds be swallowed by virtual ones, and equip them with social emotional skills to live successfully in both of those worlds. So I thought that that was a really great way to say it, that it's all about balance and it's about picking things that are going to be working for your students. So the question for today is, how can we leverage our existing AACPS applications to not only increase our teaching of SEL concepts, but also to integrate them into our existing curriculums? So since we're already in Lumio, we're going to start there. We're going to go through 6 of the applications that we support and that have some great resources. And so for this first one, we're going to stick in our Lumio, but we will be kind of jumping out to some other apps. So Lumio is awesome. As you can see from this morning's session and from our session here, there are a lot of different ways that students can interact with the presentation. It becomes very engaging. There's the quiz questions, there's polls, you can do some on the fly stuff as well. So it makes it nice to get every student participating in the class. Lumio has put together a social emotional learning toolkit. I'm going to show you all these resources where you can find them. What's nice is that they've created a collection of activities for each of the castle's 5 pillars: self-awareness, management, etc. So as you go to this toolkit, it kind of gives you as the teacher guidelines for what exactly these activities are going to focus on. And then it gives you 3 options to use with your students. Now, again, you could do this as like a check-in, which we did sort of something similar at the beginning of our session here. Um, there's also a couple here that are about ranking your values. And again, these are sort of launch points for discussions in the class. So it's using the technology, but then of course having that follow up. I also love this idea here where the students are creating a self-portrait of their core interests and values. So just like when you had those tools on the left-hand side where you could add text and images and all sorts of shapes, they're doing the same thing, but they're doing it in Lumio. And the great thing about that too is that you can come back and reference them later. So just because I want to give you a little sample, if you would go ahead and work on this one here, core values. So you're going to rank these core values in order of importance to you. If you're on the Meet, you can see, or if you're not able to get in, you can see that as the teacher, I'm able to see who's working on this. And I can also see each student's progress. So again, it helps with all student participation. I see who's completed this work as well. And of course, what an awesome discussion launch. Very simple and quick activity. Again, this is pre-done. I also hope that you are getting some inspiration for using Lumio in general. But you can see how just a quick activity like this can be a great way to get us talking about what it means to be a good friend and traits that are important. All right, I'm going to move on. I'm sorry to cut some of you off. That's the best thing about Lumio, though, that when you're ready to move on, all the students are as well. So the next part of the toolkit is those self-management activities. So being able to empathize and think about other people's diverse perspectives. So they have this self-control sort. So basically they're thinking about examples and non-examples of self-control. Again, another great launch for conversation. I think this could be used for any grade level. I love this one too. What's in my control and what's out of my control. And you can also turn this into an activity where they add their own ideas. And then this one is really great too. This is about grounding techniques. So it's not only going to give you like little gamified activities, but there are also some that can be launched into a full lesson. So in each of these 3 columns here, the students are asked to do a different activity, and then they're responding and reflecting in a group format in Lumio. So I think that these are really great options in terms of either a quick little review lesson or a full-on, lesson that your students are working on with you. So again, here's the super sort. You can take a minute to go ahead and see what that looks like for students. Again, very gamified, really fun, engaging. I see everyone is participating within the first 30 seconds. Think your students will do the same, but it's another great launching point for discussion on social emotional learning. Here is an example of what it looks like to put your students into groups. So we're not going to actually do this activity, but I am going to put you into some teams. You can see here that it's sorting all of your names. As a teacher, I can also switch names that if I don't think a grouping is going to work. So I can just drag and drop to do some different grouping. And I, as a teacher, can start the workspace. So I see my groups. I can check in on what they're working on. And as the group as the students in the group, you should be able to complete those activities and reflect. I think this is awesome. Again, ready to go and a great launch activity. So when we're talking about social awareness activities, the Lumio Toolkit is really thinking about, again, those diverse perspectives and thinking about being aware of other people. So for our very most littlest learners, our very most basic is that they're just using pictures and they're talking about how I can show kindness to people in my family and my community, etc. And then we also have something that I think can be used at a lot of levels, but even up to our high school. This is called the privilege mind map. And so students are in groups reflecting on quotes that have to do with privilege and understanding that people come from different backgrounds and different places. I think that this could really be great in any content area, but certainly you could think about a historical perspective as well. And then finally, our 3-2-1 is during class discussions, students are sharing 3 facts, 2 questions, and 1 big idea. This is just a great strategy in general, but this is supposed to be paired with reading or discussing 2 different perspectives. Again, this could be historical perspectives, this could be characters. So it doesn't always have to be about the students themselves, but learning through the experiences of others. Some relationship building activities that are included in the toolkit as well. And I hope that you're also taking some of these as inspirational nuggets. It's not that you're going to use every single one of these activities, but hopefully it kind of inspires you to think about what you could do in Lumio for SEL. I love this idea for creating a classroom community and building those friendships within the class. This first one is that they are working in Lumio to create a daily good news kind of newspaper, if you will. So it's about great things that are happening in the classroom, kind things that they've seen going on. And I think that it's really a great way to share and talk about filling others' buckets. There's also this another rank order. So they're ranking the qualities of a good friend. I think that's an awesome activity to pull in when there's some conflict going on in the classroom. And then there's some that are a little more fun that are just activity based. This one, they are working again collaboratively and they're thinking about what they would bring on a deserted island and how they would survive. So that's going to get that discussion going. And again, this can be a great way for our students who maybe don't always participate verbally in class. They can put their ideas in here in the form of pictures or type it in, and they're still able to participate in groups just in a different way. So I'm not going to have you guys do that, but I want you to kind of see what it looks like from the student view, that they would have all those same tools that you've been seeing in Lumio on the left-hand side. And again, just in terms of accessibility, a great way to let students of all different types be able to participate. And then finally, our responsible decision-making activities that are already in here. Again, we have a categorizing pictures on helpful and hurtful behaviors. So making good choices in terms of being nice to your classmates. So this is for our like littlest learners. Then talking about like I would say middle school or upper elementary, thinking about these difficult scenarios and how you can have a positive outcome and when things don't go your way. You'll see a sample of that in a second. And then this last one I think is really great again for any grade level, but this could also be a launch for a writing activity. Basically, again, they're in those collaborative groups. You could also make it an individual activity. And students are thinking about how they tackle a big problem or decision. So they're really thinking through the decision-making process. This organizer could be used over and over and over. And I know it pairs really nicely with a lot of our second step lessons. So I think that knowing that these are in Lumio and in a way that students can express that's different than just on paper and pencil is a great option. So go ahead and try the match them up so you can get an idea of what this one is. And again, I hope it gives you a little bit of inspiration for either using these in your classroom or maybe creating some of your own that might be more appropriate for your grade level. I hope you notice that some of our activities do include pictures instead of words. Nice job. We got a lot of people in progress. And again, these are great opportunities for you to pick 1 or 2 scenarios and have them do some other sort of follow-up activity or to launch a great discussion in the classroom. So I've stopped you on that one. I'm sorry, I know we're going quick, but I want to make sure we get to all of our applications. So in case you don't know where these things are or where to search for other Lumio activities, you're actually, when you find activities in Lumio library, you're going to go Google Drive. So right now you're in the Lumio app because you're kind of a student in my class. But when you're trying to be the teacher, you're going to go through Google Drive. You're going to then go to the new button. And then instead of creating a doc or sheets or slides, you're going to go to more and you're going to find Lumio, which will then open you up to your Lumio screen. So if you haven't been in a while or you've never been into Lumio, that's how you get there from the teacher side. It's going to prompt you to log in. And at the very top here, some people don't notice this, you're going to have your library, which is where all of the Lumio slides that you have created are going to live. But there's also this other tab called the Lumio Library. And in the Lumio library, you can search for ready-made resources. So everything that I just showed you, the SEL toolkit, is in the Lumio library. There is also an entire emotional literacy section, a collection, if you will, of activities that have to do with emotional wellness. So I love these. On the screen here in front of you, you have some links that you can click on. If you just click on that little blue square with the arrow, there's this great lesson, Mindfulness for Teens. So if you're working with teenagers, that would be one that I would highly suggest you check out. And then the growth mindset is really good for any age group, but particularly I love that for our middle school and elementary schoolers. And then I also included a link here so that you can kind of see the general SEL site for Lumio. If I were you, I would just go ahead and click on those so they open up as different tabs, and then you can save them later. Of course, I'm happy to share these resources as well. Hopefully at the end of our session, we'll have some time for you to explore this library, but I just wanted to give you a sampling of where those things are. Okay, we're going to switch over to something that's similar to Lumio, but not quite. So Nearpod, and I know some of you are familiar with Nearpod. It's similar to Lumio in the fact that the teacher can guide the lesson through slides and interactive activities. It's just a different platform. So I'm actually going to pop out of my Lumio. If you want to come to my Meet tab so that you can kind of see what I'm doing here, and I'm going to head over to ClassLink where I'm going to go into Nearpod. So Nearpod is something that you can search, or it's the blue and white icon. When I'm in Nearpod, over here on the left, I have a bunch of menu items. So again, just like Lumio, I have all the lessons that I've created right here in the middle and under the My Lessons tab. But we also have some other options. The first one I want to take you to is under Nearpod programs. It's called 21st Century Readiness. Now, if you're like me, this may be an area that you've never checked out before, but I want you to know what a wealth of resources that are here. So you'll notice that there are some different subjects. So digital citizenship, which also has a lot of great connections to SEL when we're talking about being a good citizen online. But there's also this entire collection called social emotional learning. So again, I'm presenting in the Google Meet tab. So if you're still in Lumio, you can pop over to the Google Meet tab. That would be great. So you'll notice that under 21st Century Readiness, and then I clicked on social emotional learning, that they have different sections by grade level band. So K to 2, you can certainly do some of these with your pre-K students. 3 through 5, our middle school, and then our high school level here. And each of these little sections looks very similar. You'll see that there are full lessons, mini lessons, which are about less than 20 minutes. There's some growth mindset practices, lifelong learning strategies, and also SEL in digital life, which has to do with how we respond to others and how we act online. So because we've shown a lot of kind of elementary examples, I'm going to come down to our grades 9 through 12. And I'm going to go on SEL and digital life. You can certainly explore any of these at any time. And you'll notice once again, it's into the CASEL 5 domains for SEL. So self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills. You can kind of find what your students need in each of these sections. I'm going to go to responsible decision making. So at the top here, you're going to see that there are going to be 10 lessons that go along with this topic, including 5 different interactive activities. And there are also some videos, but they're all embedded in these lessons already. So you can kind of see here on my screen, you can preview the lesson. This one again happens to be for high school on posting, what to post on social media. And every single one of these SEL lessons starts with the CASEL focus. And it also always gives an emotional temperature check. So similar to the how do you feel today, this one happens to be an open-ended question. What's your mood right now? And the students are responding anonymously, and the teacher gets an idea of what's going on in the classroom. Again, another launch point for discussion. There's another interactive poll, very similar to what we saw on Lumio, talking about have you ever been tagged or included in a photo online that you did not post? So these are very relevant topics and definitely things that our kids are dealing with. And we get to then continue on when it's talking about have you ever posted a picture that someone didn't approve of? There's going to be some accessing prior knowledge, talking about the upsides and downsides of sharing and posting online. It continues on. You can kind of see over here on the right hand side the different elements of this lesson, but there's always going to be some sort of independent practice. And what I really love is that there's that class discussion piece. So that's what can happen in your classroom in person rather than all of it being online. But again, it kind of gives them that comfort of knowing that they can respond anonymously and that they can express their opinion in other ways than just verbalizing in the class. So again, this is just one example of the hundreds of lessons that are in here for all grade levels, and that's under 21st century readiness. I also want to direct you right underneath of that is the Nearpod library. You may be familiar with this one. So the library is similar to the Lumio library. You're going to find a lot of great lessons in here as well. So for example, here's a whole collection of classroom culture builders. So when we're talking about building those positive relationships and even just getting to know each other, these are a great place to go. You see that this one, icebreakers and activities, there's over 40 ready to go lessons that you can click on and explore. These are for any grade level. You can see the grade is also listed here, and you can preview these lessons. If you've never used Nearpod before, you would just go to add to my lessons, and it's going to fall right in your lessons for you to edit. Carrie, something?
Yeah, they're asking about the 21st century century readiness. It appears to be showing for you and I, but not for them. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of digging
Oh
to see
no.
if it's something from the admin or if it's just been pushed out to us because we're the admins for the district. So stay tuned. We will get back to you on that one because I also see it on my screen. So we never gave it a thought that maybe you all wouldn't see it. But so sit tight on that one. And if
We'll
nothing
find a
else,
way.
we'll find a way to get you the
Yes.
links. If nothing else, we'll even send you the direct links to the specific Nearpods as we go through. So
Absolutely.
'cause I
Thank
know
you,
it's popping
Carrie.
up there and there, and so I was doing a little bit of digging first. So, and I can always ask. Asia will actually be here
Yeah.
today and presenting for us, so we can ask her too.
I appreciate that. I know that's
Yeah.
a great resource, so we want you guys to have that. But don't forget about the Nearpod library where we are right here, because as I said, hundreds of ready to go lessons that are very similar, and in fact, you may find some of them already in here in just a different format. So two places that you can look again for this Nearpod library. I was in classroom culture. There are also entire channels on relationship builders. So Nearpod library is another great one to click on. This is another one I want to draw your attention to, the perspective analysis lessons. So when we're talking about building empathy and understanding other people's perspectives, these are ready to go lessons that you can modify. And again, they're by grade level band. So this is 1 through 5, and then we have 6 through 12 here. And you can preview all of those lessons. Each of them has interactive elements that we've been seeing in Lumio and also in Nearpod. I absolutely love that they're addressing topics that are kind of touchy, and it gives you a launch point. So like this one right here is all about autism, and each of these uses that same language that we've been using on our equity days when it's talking about windows and mirrors. So a lot of different cool techniques there. All right. The next app that we're going to head to, share this tab. We're back to Class Link, and we're going to head over to Wixie, one of our favorites. So I think a lot of you are familiar with Wixie. And you probably already know some of the great things about it, but it is, if you haven't been into Wixie lately or don't know it at all, it's considered a creativity platform. So students can use art, text, video, etc. And that alone makes it a great option for when you're teaching SEL because you're allowing for accessibility. So where I want to take you though is some of the ready to go lessons for SEL. So the first place that we're going to go is, again, we're over here on the left-hand side. We're going to start in the templates. And then you'll see a bunch of folders come up. There are a lot of great sections here. I want to first take you to the All About Me folder, which traditionally we tell people about at the beginning of the year because you're getting to know your students. But I think that we can all say it's never too late to do a getting to know you activity, especially if you're feeling like there's conflict in your class. It's a great way to have kids, sort of reintroduce themselves. And they're not all about just who you are, but it's about thinking about their own self awareness. So, a lot of amazing options in here. You can see the templates are ready to go. I love many of them, but there's also stuff in here about setting goals, which is another huge component of SEL. You can see that they are not only just text responses, but they can also respond using pictures or video. So I'm just going to choose one of these: past, present, and future. And you can see when you go to the try it button as the teacher, you can get a little preview that we have all of these different tools across the top and along the right hand side. So students can respond with text. If you didn't know, in Wixie, they can also do voice typing, and anything that is already in the text can be read out loud. So again, when we're talking about accessibility and having everyone participate in activities, this is going to be a great option. They can also choose to include images, videos up to 5 minutes. And there are even some really great options under widgets. Very quickly, I'm going to take you to our magic sticker area where we have our talkies. And if you haven't explored those yet, these are talking animations. So you pick an emoji or any other sort of cartoon and you're going to add it. And then over here, you're going to see that there has become an area where you can put in the dialogue you want your talkie to say, and it will actually move its mouth and read it out. So again, really fun and engaging ways to talk about yourself or conflict or building relationships. I'm heading back to the little house in Wixie to come back to my templates area. I also want to draw your attention under that templates folder. This is just a great way for you to find some basic templates when you're talking about any SEL concepts. And it doesn't have to just be a specific SEL lesson, but let's say you're reading a book and there is a conflict in the novel. Having them rewrite that chapter or show it in a comic strip would be a really great way to bring in those SEL skills. And again, these templates are ready to go. Students can access these as well, just the same way we are, or you can assign it to them. We have all of our directions for that on our teacher intro page, and I'll share that with you. I also want to take you under templates to the general folder. Ton of great options in here, but I love the bulletin board. This would be great for giving ideas on collaborative ways to manage yourself. So students could do this in teams because Wixie also has the ability now to put students into different teams. They can maybe do test taking strategies or things that they do to manage their emotions. I love that bulletin board idea for any sort of idea contributions. There's also an email template. This would be great for our middle and high school students who are learning about practicing online etiquette and relationship skills and social skills digitally. There are also some great things in here, like even just a journal and some lined paper. So even our littlest learners can respond about how they're feeling or if there is an issue that they're having with a friend or bullying. I love the idea of using one of these notebooks or journals to kind of have their own recording area or a gratitude journal. All of those are great techniques that we use in SEL. Finally, at the very bottom here, there's the wanted posters. I think these would be great when you're talking about being a good friend and talking about positive character traits. So we also have another section that I want to take you to, which is our curriculum area. So again, that's above templates. This is for teachers to get to, and you can certainly assign these to students. So there's a folder called social emotional. And in this folder, again, you're going to find a ton of ready to go activities. We absolutely love everything in here. We have acrostic poems. We have angry monster. Think about what this angry monster would say, or better yet, how they would calm down when they're feeling so angry, talking about strategies. We definitely have a lot for our primary students in this section. The emotions gallery is one that we really love that we've included in some of our asynchronous subplans. So students are using the camera to take pictures of themselves or even record their emotions for each of those. I do want you to know that there's also for our upper elementary and middle and high students, there's a folder called reflection prompts in that social emotional folder. It's at the very top. And there are dozens of quotes here that students can then respond to that all have to do with social emotional topics. And these, I think, are a really great way for our students, again, to be able to express after reading a piece of quote. And a lot of these come from historical figures, so that would be a great and sort of natural connection to what you're doing when you're talking about history. So again, all of these are under these curriculum and templates folders. You could certainly do a search if you're doing a particular topic, relationship building or online etiquette, and you can find things that way as well. Okay, fast and furious. I know we have a couple minutes more to go. The next app, I told you we'd be going quickly through, and I'm happy to share any of these resources again if you're missing some of them. But we're going to head over to Discovery Education. So I'm back on ClassLink, and I'm finding Discovery Education, that app. It's probably going to prompt you to log in like it did for me. So Discovery Ed is way more than videos. It has some really great content. I know when I was in the classroom, I only really ever used the Discovery Ed videos that were already in my curriculum. I didn't do a lot of exploring, but I wish I had, because there's so much more in here that I never really knew existed. So we're going to start from the search here, and I'm just literally going to type in SEL, social emotional learning. And you're going to see that there's a ton of stuff that comes up here. Certainly you could use the search filtering to find an activity or a lesson or an interactive for your grade band. But I'm going to ask you to click into the Social Emotional Learning Center channel. So a channel is just a collection of content. This one has really been built out nicely. You're going to see across the top that we have our grade level bands again, K-2, 3 through 5, and 6 through 12. As you scroll down, you're also going to see those content areas. I'm going to click on 6 through 12, just so we can get an idea of what's in each of these. Certainly you would find the one that works for you. But there are a lot of great pieces of content in here. The first one, the Student Story Video Topic Series. Not only are they real students that are dealing with real issues in their world, but they're also about students who are making positive impacts. And many of them come with PDF questions and activities that go along with it. So exploring this little area is a great way to kind of launch your day or your conversations in terms of SEL. You'll see that they're all pretty short as well. And I love that they're real, modern, current students. As you scroll down, you're going to see a whole collection of ready-to-use activities. And yes, when I say ready to use, it really means it. So this one here happens to be a studio quiz. If you see, I'm circling the sort of subtitle underneath of each of these activities. This one happens to be for grades 6 through 12. And when you click on one of these activities, you're going to notice that it's not just a video. This one, again, happens to be a studio board. So as you see, there's part 1, part 2, and then there's a written response. These can be done whole group, where you as the teacher are projecting them, or you can certainly assign these to students as well. They're also editable. If you make your own copy right here in the upper right hand corner, you can definitely edit and choose the things that you don't like and replace them and things like that. So there's a little consideration part, kind of a launch. Then we're talking about what it means to have agency and empathy and identity. It's going over all of those terms with some reflection questions, again, that you can do in the classroom. And then there's always some sort of follow-up. And certainly they could respond in text here if you assigned it to them, or they could do it in Wixie or a journal or something else like that. I'm going to click back on this D here to get back to SEL. I do find that using the back button in Discovery doesn't always work great. So sometimes you have to just research. But that Social Emotional Learning Center channel is going to have so many resources in there. I also want to draw your attention in that top banner as well to the instructional resources area, because here you're going to also find SEL SOS strategies, which is Spotlight on Strategies, that relate to skills that you teach when you're teaching social emotional learning. So each one of these little PDF activities is going to show you how to use a teaching strategy when you're working with SEL concepts. And then as you scroll down where it's going to give you all of the activities, I also want to draw your attention to some of these choice boards slideshows. Again, I'm under instructional resources. Up here at the top, you see for all grade levels, K to 2, 3 through 5, 6 through 8, 9 through 12. I'm going to go ahead and click on just 3 through 5 to give you an example of this. But this is, again, something that you can assign, or you could do one each week. You'll notice here at the top, it's the form of a slideshow, and there are 36 different slides. Once again, they are categorized by Castle's domains. So let's say I'm really working on social awareness with my grade 3 through 5 students. It's going to give me an image or a video as well as some text. And then there's also a pairing writing prompt. So there's always that follow-up and really great reflection questions that students can either work on independently with that follow-up from you, or that you can do whole group. So it's talking about how do we show respect for a friend even if we disagree with them. And this could again even launch into some role playing in the classroom. So DE, more than just videos, a lot of great, great, great resources. I'm just going to flash up for a moment back in Lumio, but you don't have to go there. It's right here on the Meet screen. A couple of the other channels that I think are really wonderful. I'll give you a second to jot those down. In Discovery, it's going to be the same format as the SEL Learning channel, where there's going to be a collection of videos, PDF activities. Discover You're Happy is an amazing channel where some of our celebrities are talking about what makes them happy, and there's even a virtual field trip on the Happiness Project. Um, there's also the Wellness channel and the Inner Explorer. Some of these include podcasts of self-guided meditations that you can have students listen to if they need a moment to calm down. It's even nice to do a whole group after recess or something like that. So some great channels here I highly, highly recommend.
And Sam, if I can interrupt for just a second,
Sure.
just because you brought those up, and I know that we have a couple pre-K K people in here. There are
Absolutely.
also some. If you in Discovery search Sesame Workshop, you will find that there is a channel called Sesame Learning, and they have some. If you scroll towards the page, they have some channels or videos specifically for coming together in feelings time. So I know for our
Yes.
early learners in here, because I know there's a couple of you on here, those might be appeal to you as well.
We love Sesame Learning. Thank you, Carrie. That's a great one. All right. So I did want to do a little shout out to Adobe Express, which is our newest application to join this squad. Adobe Express is another one of those creation stations, if you will. So there's not going to be ready-made lessons like we've seen in a lot of these other applications, but I do want to kind of give you some ideas about what you might be able to find in there and how your students can use Adobe to create products that relate to SEL. So I'm going to head over to Adobe Express. Again, I'm back on ClassLink, and it's the black and rainbow icon. I do think it's our prettiest application icon. But if you haven't been in here yet, you're going to see some of the options that we have. Of course, it's prompting me to sign in, probably the same thing for you. So again, this isn't going to have a lot of those ready-made lessons or full-on activities, but it's definitely going to be a place where you can create some great things related to SEL. So going kind of across the top here in this suggested area on the page, I'm thinking about all the different things I can do with these different products. So students can make little videos in here. It's not as extensive as you would get in WeVideo, but it's sometimes that's better because there's less options, and it may be that your time frame isn't doesn't allow for that time to make a full video in WeVideo. But think about how students can make a video of their self-care practices, or after researching ways to deal with stress, they could create a video project. So thinking about different ways to use these products for SEL is kind of the idea here. There's also our new drawing tool. So if you go into that drawing tool area, you will see that this is just a place, especially for our littlest learners, that they can draw like a little poster. It could even be a picture of something, your future goal, because we know goal setting is an important part of SEL. They can also do a drawing, of what makes them happy or how they're feeling today. So the drawing is a great place to start for our little guys. I'm thinking about infographics. What a great way for our older students to do an infographic on mental health stats, or based on some research about wellness, they could create some informational topics in an infographic. And if you've never been into Adobe before, as you click in to each of these to create from scratch, there are tons of tools that they can use on the left-hand side. And it's a great way to teach them the skills of graphic design because they're layering, they're adding text, there are different elements, backgrounds, and shapes. So taking some time to go over all of these different tools is going to be great. So they're building their tech skills as well as talking about their social emotional learning as well. I'm thinking going back to our homepage through that little A in the corner, I'm also thinking about the web page. Now they won't be able to publish, but they're definitely going to be able to design. And I think that doing a web page sort of as like an exit ticket or journal, if you're doing several days of SEL lessons, or maybe you're at the end of a unit for second step, they can compile all the information that they've learned in images and text in the form of a web page. I just think it's a different way to express learning. I also want to take you to the purple plus sign here because there's some cool things here. This is another way that you can start projects, but I really want to take you to this quick actions tab. And then under there, animate from audio. This is very similar to those talkies I showed you in Wixie. So the students are going to be able to pick a character and a background, and then they're able to record 2 minutes of audio. So I'm thinking this would be great if you did a follow-up to a scenario that you discussed as a class. Maybe there's an issue going on that you want to discuss, and this is a way that they can reflect on that. You could think about, Tim is feeling left out at recess. What could you say to him to help him feel better? Or if you are Tim, what would you do to help yourself join a different group? Or, Jen is mad at Angela for saying something mean in a group text. How could she address the problem or respond? So it just gives them a different way to respond. And again, it kind of alleviates the pressure and stress of having to say it out loud, and instead they're doing it through a character. So I do love these. Lots of fun options for creation here. Finally, up at the top, in the search bar, if you type in social emotional, you don't have to start everything from scratch. There are a ton of templates. So if you scroll down a bit, you're going to see the templates area here as a subtitle. And I'm going to go to this view all on the left-hand side so that I can see everything that there is to offer. I can certainly filter, but here you will see some ready done worksheets, organizers. There are a couple of animations and videos that you can use as a launch point. So you could, as a teacher, modify this and technically print it if you wanted to, but you could also have your students come in and respond digitally within Adobe. You can see that there's some really great ones. I love the Rosebud and Thorn, a great way to get students talking about their feelings. Again, they can use all of those tools that are on the left-hand side, so they don't have to express just with text. So a lot of awesome options here. If you have not explored, this is a great place to go. All right, in our final few minutes, the last one I want to tell you about, and if you don't mind, go back to your Lumio tab. Hopefully some of you are still in there. If not, I will also share it on my Meet screen. I want to remind you about Minecraft. Talk about engaging. We know our students love gaming. So Minecraft has an entire collection of social emotional worlds that are already built. And I want to let you know that even if you don't feel confident in Minecraft, your students will. And I want to show you a little bit about some of those. So I'm going to play this quick video, and then I'll show you where those subject kits are right before we leave.
Hi, I'm Ainsley, a 10th grader. Did you know you can use Minecraft Education Edition to help students like me learn how to collaborate and communicate better, practice conflict resolution, and build self-awareness and decision-making skills? Let me show you 3 lessons that support social and emotional learning with Minecraft. Let's start with the Empathy Village. This educator-developed lesson builds empathy skills among students as they design and build houses to express their personalities. Then they explore one another's home, and at the end of the lesson, each student presents about someone else's house to demonstrate empathy and deepen their understanding. Another educator created the Empathy Education lesson, where students venture through the homes of families in need to learn about their struggles and brainstorm ways to help. Then they create a new home for each family using their ideas. Lastly, the Mindful Night lesson helps build self-awareness and mindfulness through skills through a series of quests through a medieval world. Students use the camera and the book and quill tool to document and reflect on their emotional journey. My friend Diego gives you a step-by-step tour through this one in a You Can Quick Tip video. Link in the description. What are you waiting for? Explore our SEL content pack and empower your classroom today. Create a more inclusive classroom with Minecraft and help your students thrive as confident digital citizens.
All right. I hope she sold you. If you're still on my Lumio, I have 2 links here that will give you some more information. Eh, Using Minecraft in the classroom is literally as easy as having your students download it and then go into the subject kits. And as she said, there are a ton of amazing subject kit options. I do want to show you on the link that I have on this Lumio page that it's going to give you an overview of some of the social emotional lessons that they have. If you scroll down here, you'll see all of the different worlds that are built, along with, if you scroll over top, the suggested age levels, as well as a quick description of what that lesson is about. Some of them are just like quick little 30-minute lessons that they can get through. And some of them, like this Reflect World, is like 5 full days worth of working through a world and talking about empathy and building emotional vocabulary. And I want to stress that this is for all levels. So lots of great stuff available through our applications. I know we went fast and furious. We'll skip this part. I think you're excited, hopefully, about something. You found something you think you can use. I want to very quickly remind you of the Big T, the Teacher Intro to Digital Tools. If you found an application that you think is really great, but you need more info, you can check it out there, or certainly you can contact one of your teacher specialists. Please feel free to email me, S. Wilkinson, if I can help you with any of these resources. We'll hopefully find out about that 21st century readiness section for you. I also have all my references here. I'll leave up for a minute as you are exiting. Carrie, I think you have the exit ticket probably. And
Already dropped in.
Perfect. I really appreciate you guys coming. You know, these sessions are short, but I'd be happy to talk with any of you at length another time. So hope you have a great day. And thanks for being here.
All right. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, Sam, and I'm going to jump out because I got to go to the other one.
Okay. See ya.